month or so, Pokemon hosts a new tournament in a different part of the world as part of their championship series. Every region has about 1 to 2 of these events per month. The most common one of these events are known as regionals. And no, to the geeks out there, not that kind of regionals, but I could use more Sue in my life.
So you like show tunes. Doesn't mean you're gay. It just means you're awful.
Pokemon regionals are large-scale events where players from around the world can come meet in person to compete and watch others play Pokemon, whether from the TCG or VGC scenes. I mean, technically Pokemon Go is on there too, but when people register as a Pokemon Go player to get in because there's no more spectator passes, that really says something. Regardless of what you're entering for, it's a huge event, with Toronto having over 700 players alone this past January for the VGC event. This can be intimidating, especially if it's your first time playing, just as it was for myself and my friends this year. While we got to experience a few things last year as spectators, myself and Otar the lad went together and played for our first time this year, and boy, did we learn some things. These are things that I think are genuinely important when going to your first regional, and I wanted to pass that information and experience off to you guys to better help your Pokemon journey. Most of what I'm going to say is going to be related to the VGC or video game competition side of regionals, but I believe a lot of these points are transferable to the TCG as well. With that in mind, let's get into it. Now, the first thing you need to know before heading into a regional, or 90% of competitive Pokemon settings, is that these games are played best of 3 with an open team sheet. This means that all of your Pokemon, items, movesets, and abilities are all available for your opponent to see. I say this now at the beginning because most of my videos are showcasing myself playing best of 1 games on Wi-Fi ladders with either an off-meta team or a gimmick strat. And a lot of the time, those off-meta teams or gimmick strats go out the window when players can see the Pokemon and moves you have. Even if you pulled off the strategy game 1, there are still games 2 and 3 that you would have to adapt for. My best advice for this would be to get off Wi-Fi battles for a little bit and use online tools to help mold your team and practice against other trainers. Websites like Marriland's Team Builder and Pokémon Showdown I find the most helpful, as Marriland's Team Builder takes a look at what weaknesses your Pokemon team have and what to keep in mind for when creating a new team, while Pokemon Showdown lets you simulate one-on-one battles with adjustable stats, moves, abilities, and items against live opponents. Both will be linked in the description below. I wanted to bring this point up first because a lot of my audience knows me for Wi-Fi battles, and if y'all have been inspired to play Pokemon at in-person events because you're a subscriber of mine, let me tell you right now, it's a lot more different than what you see on this channel. And if you're not a subscriber of mine, please consider it. Thank you. For regional events specifically, I think something super important would be to familiarize yourself with the RK9 website. This website is not only where you sign up currently for in-person regional and national events, but it's where you'll be submitting team sheets or deck lists as well, which we'll get into a little bit. Before you start anything, make sure you register your Pokemon player ID, as it will help confirm your identification inside official tournaments and keeps track of any champion and play points that you might earn over time. On top of that, when inside the regional itself, on a phone or mobile device, you should keep the RK9 website open on a tab, as it will tell you what table you will be sitting at and who you are facing. This goes for all main and side event panels, so it's best to keep a tab open on your phone at all times. Also, it might be beneficial to bring a portable charger if possible. These tournament settings can be huge, so make sure you know whether you're inside of the TCG or VCG play area. Again, no one really cares about Pogo. Wait, they have armored Mewtwo?
That's why I do it.
A lot of players spend weeks, if not months, crafting and testing their teams until they get used to their team's play style and recognize their strong suits and weaknesses. Being able to understand what does and doesn't work on your team can make the difference between dropping out after 3 games or making it to day 2. This doesn't mean that you can't make your own team and experiment, or you should be ashamed of taking someone else's team idea and tweaking the stats to your liking, just as long as you're comfortable with what you're using and how the team plays. Going into Regionals, for example, I wanted to play Galarian Moltres, utilizing its Berserk ability and tanky stature to gain more stats and dish out more consistent damage with its signature move, Fiery Wrath. I had 3 different teams that I went through during this time. One that was my own creation, playing Trick Room with Cresselia, Ursaluna, and regenerating HP with Sinistcha to abuse Moltres' Berserk ability. Another build that I almost took that I spent over 100 games playing with, which was highly based off of Sliced Bread's Galarian Moltres build, included Para-flinching with a bold booster speed Flutter Mane, and Okidagi to block priority attacks. And then there was the team that I created last minute right before the event. And I mean right before the event. But we'll touch that at a later time. I'm personally a big fan of the tool Passers, created by Bauerdad and Volt, as you can plug in a Pokepaste of your team and your best of 3 replays onto this Google Sheet, and it'll keep track of your team statistics, such as Pokemon on your team that are doing amazing, opposing Pokemon that you struggle against, and what moves you are actually using mid-battle to help weed out attacks that you're not clicking. All you need to do is make a copy of the Google Sheet, add your Pokemon Showdown nickname where it says so, and then paste your Pokepaste team sheet in the correct slot as well. Afterwards, start playing games with your team. After you play a match, save and copy all of your replay files to the replay tab, and slowly, the more info you fill in, the more info the Google Sheet will fill out for you. I'll have it linked down below in the description. Give it a try, as I think it's a genuinely great tool to use before playing any major event to help craft your team into the best it can be. I mean, I don't know why I'm mentioning this to you. It's not like you're a bad VGC player or anything. What's that, boy? 1 in every 3 VGC players are bad? Well, if they're not bad, and you're not bad, then that means... Submitting teams on RK9 is very important, as judges will check to make sure that these Pokemon are legally possible and line up with the Pokemon that you decide to bring for the event. By going to RK9's VGC Team List Creator, you can manually add your Pokemon's exact stats, items, abilities, and moves to the team sheet list that you'll be bringing to your big event. Your stats must be exactly the same as the Pokemon you plan on bringing to the tournament. While Pokemon normally adjust their levels to level 50 for official games, you must write down what your Pokemon's current level is and all of its stats at that level. On top of that, you are not using rental teams of these Pokemon. You must have these Pokemon physically on your Switch and play with those exact Pokemon that you registered on RK9. This also goes for nicknames. Whatever nickname you have on your Pokemon must be written down onto RK9's website as well. And this is a big one. If you nickname your Pokemon another Pokemon's name, that could be grounds for disqualification. That even counts if you name a Pokemon something in its own evolutionary line. This information is unfortunately relevant, I promise you, but we'll come back to that in just a moment. Team sheet submissions open just a week before the event and close hours just before the event starts. So make sure you have everything done properly and everything is submitted on time. I know myself and my friend Otar had this problem, as we both submitted our teams the Thursday before the event, played our teams in a Regulation F side event, and both of us got our butts handed to us. And so we thought we were screwed. We needed to change our teams and then proceeded to stay up until 4 a.m. fixing and changing our teams. I'm not talking small adjustments. I mean, we redid about 4 whole Pokemon each. The results of my last minute actions were Friend Guard Clefairy to help bulk up Moltres while healing it with Life Dew to proc Berserk multiple times, and multiple priority attackers to cover my lack of speed control. At least Moltres made it to top 8. Neither of us had an opportunity to test these Pokemon. We just went off with what we believed would work in theory. I at least finished my changes and updated it on the RK9 website. Otar, on the other hand... Hello. Guys, yeah, sorry, this is gonna be a little awkward. This is my first time doing this kind of interview, but I'd really love to welcome Nigel here with us today. Nigel, feel free, say hello.
Hello. I am a Pokemon player. I am very new to the scene. First event was Toronto Regionals, but yeah, I've been playing for a long time. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Why don't you tell us what happened specifically at Toronto?
At Toronto Regionals, I actually had a very good time. I think I actually went 6 rounds before I inevitably got disqualified because I have a problem with reading and I didn't read the rules. So I wasn't able to finish the event, but I ended up going 5-1 before I had to be removed from the teams. Oh wow, that's not right. I guess I had to be I was disqualified.
Well, gosh, yeah, that obviously it's frustrating. We'll get to that in a second. Actually, that falls into my next question. What were you playing before you changed your team?
Before changing the team, the team that I ended up attending Toronto with was an Articuno Snow team that had Tinglu as the ground type offense. The team consists of Articuno, Ninetales, Wellspring, Ogerpon, Incineroar, Tinglu, and Slowking Galarian form. It was a lot of fun playing that team. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say that Pokemon right there alone, that's definitely gonna turn some heads to see that on a team sheet inside of a competitive event.
Yeah, for sure. It did, and that was the Pokemon. Someone was a huge fan of Slowking. He actually stopped me and said he wanted to take a picture of the team sheet. He actually had a little Slowpoke. He brought his plush of Slowpokes and Slowkings. It was so cool.
Ah, that's so sweet. Well, yeah, I guess that leads into the next question. What inspired you to play Galarian Slowking specifically?
The idea actually came from a different team concept, leaning around the use of Torkoal and Gouging Fire. Originally, I had planned to do a slow double weather team that would use Trick Room as an option, as well as use Gouging Fire as an offensive threat, as opposed to using the typical booster energy. I was leaning towards Loaded Dice, Scale Shot, and Heat Crash because it's like a mini Koraidon. I thought it was so strong. It already has naturally the fire typing. I don't know how much merit it has. I just know it didn't last very long on my team idea. Yeah, I ended up having a lot more success with the Slowking, and it eventually went into a more dedicated snow team. So you had the manual setter with Slowking, and you also have the snow warning from Ninetales, leaning into the team that you see today, or you saw for Toronto Regionals. I really liked its ability to the Curious Medicine. That is the drawing factor of it. Obviously, it has the unique move, Chilly Reception. But the Curious Medicine is honestly the thing that really drew me to the Pokemon originally. I absolutely adored the fact that you can ignore Intimidate. It was a very good partner Pokemon for Tinglu. It was a very good partner Pokemon for Ogerpon Wellspring, so that you can ignore Intimidates if you are positioned well. And I even had a very interesting item on Ninetales, which it carried Eject Pack. So if you do get intimidated, you can just pop that Ninetales out, go into Slowking, and just like that, your Intimidate is removed from the partner Pokemon. And Ninetales is always a very good partner Pokemon for a water type, like Ogerpon Wellspring.
Mm-hmm.
So it always ends up being very synergetic. It synergizes very well, in my opinion. So yeah, it was very fun to play that team.
So we know that team, and I have that team up on a PokePaste that people will see on the screen right now. But what did you want to change the team into?
In short, the team was much better. The one that you're looking at now is much better than the team I ended up changing it to. It was intended to be changed back into a team that consisted of Gouging Fire. Because I still really like Gouging Fire. I'm a huge fan of Gouging Fire. I think it's underexplored in the fact that it is currently used as this howling bot. And again, I'm not trying to say that the Gouging Fire set that we know is bad. It is a very strong set. I, however, want to see it thrive in Sun. So that's just, I want to see it with the Loaded Dice. I just want to see it act in a different way. I think it has potential that hasn't really been explored yet. So I ended up leaning back into the Gouging Fire team, and it had Indeedee as well to take advantage of Slowking with a psychic type damage. It was a very different team, and a team that I'm glad didn't see the light of day, because that would not have panned out as well as it did.
So then I guess, what was your end result? What did you end up bringing to the event?
Yeah, so this snow team that we see here, this was the team that really did. It was much stronger than I had originally thought it was, and I think my original interpretation of the team, the reason I discredited it was because I didn't have enough practice, or didn't understand the team well enough. I just needed to play it more, and that was made significantly more clear the more I played it.
What, because all these changes happened last minute, what necessarily inspired you to change it?
So Konami and I attended the side events for Friday at the Toronto Regionals, and it was mentioned to me that there might be an issue with the name of one of the Pokemon that I have, and that was in the back of my head for a while, and yeah, I'll just leave it at that for now.
Fair enough. So all of that made us go into a deep dive of changing it at midnight the day before the event, so like literally like Saturday morning. And then Nigel, do you remember what time? I remember what time I finished. Do you remember what time you finished?
Literally at 5:30, right when submission closed, and I saw the submission disappear, and I said, I don't know what to do anymore because I can't submit my team, so I gotta just go with what I had last time. That's so I just logged in. I said, okay, well, I made the team before. Hopefully it performs a little bit better than it did on Friday at the side events, because it did not perform very well on side events, I'll be honest.
So that kind of brings me into my next question. How well exactly were you doing at the tournament with this team?
Honestly, I feel like the more I played, the better I feel like I performed. In the earlier games, I struggled a lot with the with staying consistent. I think most of my early games went to game 3, but the further I went, the more consistent I got the experience. I understood how the team worked, and I know that's such a strange thing to say going to a regional event. However, I didn't get enough practice, and I can't emphasize that enough, but I understood the lines a lot better as I went. I actually lost, I believe, in round 2 to a very similar team that I won against in round 5 or round 6. I think it was round 6, but because of that experience of losing in round 2, it actually kind of like pushed me to critically like review it and think again differently what worked in round 2, like what could have happened, or I just adjusted to what my experience was in the earlier matches, and it paid off so much so that I won that game 2-0, which was huge.
So then, with all that being said, what inspired you to tell the judges about this error on your team?
So, as mentioned before, during the side events, it was mentioned the name on my Instant Aurora might be a red flag. So I actually named it Torracat because I like Torracat more than I like Instant Aurora's design. So I thought it would be a funny haha to change the name, but obviously that is another Pokemon, and that is against the rules. So I decided, because I'm using the rental code for a Pokemon that is named poorly or named a different Pokemon, I would just address the judges, let them know the error, because at this point I was already 6 rounds in and I was already at a 5-1 record. At this point, if I make day 2 and I win the next game or win the next game after that or something, if I make day 2 and I get disqualified after attending day 2 with the intention of like competing for like first, I would have been very disappointed. So I'm glad it happened when it did. I'm glad it was kind of resolved, unfortunately, with not the best result, but it was what needed to happen, and I'm glad it happened, as opposed to, like, I'm glad it happened when it did.
I was gonna say, was that the only reason why you were stopped? Was it just because of the Incineroar being called Torracat? Like, what actually unfolded?
So that's not the whole thing. Again, I mentioned a little bit. I use the rental code, so that's not allowed. You're not supposed to be using rental codes when it comes to bringing Pokemon or bringing in your teams for these events. Because we host our own events, we play Pokemon all the time, we battle with rental codes all the time. I didn't see an issue with it, but it is mentioned in the rules that you're not supposed to be using rental codes. So that's my fault. I actually made changes to the Pokemon that were on that rental code, so I actually didn't even have the Pokemon that were on the team prepared in the same way that they were submitted, because I actually just made modifications to them to try and make a new team. I'm glad that team didn't go through. However, it still wasn't the same 6 that I had on cartridge, so I had to use a rental code to maintain that my team looks the same as the team sheet that I submitted. So because of the team being different from the cartridge game and me using the rental code and the Torracat name, there was just too many infractions that just said it's just easier to disqualify you. Unfortunately, your run has to end here and now. So that's what happened. Everyone was very professional about it. I had no issues with how they handled it. I had no problems with the tone or anything along the lines of that. Everyone was very friendly. Everyone was very to the point, and yeah, they made sure it was very clear as to what was happening, why it happened, and yeah, everyone was very friendly and apologetic about the situation, because they were very excited to see a new person, and unfortunate that it had to end that way.
I guess that brings into my next question. Has this like really dismayed you from wanting to play VGC again? And if not, like, would you still like to attend official tournaments?
I think it's on the opposite. I think because of how cool the experience was overall, I had a lot of fun playing Pokemon with people, making friends, even talking to the judges. I actually became rather interested, even more interested than I was before. I was interested in the professor program from earlier. However, experiencing that, even though I was disqualified, I think they handled it very professionally, and I was actually very interested in returning to join Professors Club, if they'll have me. Obviously, I talked to people about it, and I might be continuing my path on becoming a professor sooner than later. Like it was such a good experience that I'm very interested in returning to more official tournaments.
Oh, that's awesome. We love being able to hear such a positive experience even after an unfortunate incident, as it were. Is there anything that you'd like to say to new players entering the tournament scene for the first time?
Yes. Please read the rules. Please read the rules. Make sure your team follows the guidelines. I mean, I made multiple infractions, and that, that's on me. I absolutely should have done the bare minimum, I think, is to at least read the rules, and I didn't even follow up on that. So definitely review, make sure your team follows the guidelines. There's not that much to go over. It's really, yeah, that was just a silly thing to be disqualified for. However, it did happen. So advice I can share is not to try to change your team the night before. Stick to the team that you feel like you prepped with. Stick to the team that you feel like you are comfortable with. And if anything, the only and the most influential advice that I feel like I took from this is that practice. Actually play the teams that you want to perform with, especially if you are happy or excited about the Pokemon that you like and they're on a team. Play with the team, learn what's wrong with it, and then make the changes. Just play the team you have.
Awesome. Well, Nigel, thank you so much for coming on here to help talk about your situation and just, provide advice and also, I guess, a little bit of a forewarning of proper team preparation and what can happen if you don't prepare. Regardless, I appreciate you coming on here to help tell your story and explain it to other people, especially because what you have is such a cool and interesting team, and it's just so sad that you can check it on websites right now. Unfortunately, because you were dropped, your team doesn't even show up on tournament websites, and I feel like that's genuinely just such a shame.
Yeah, well, maybe you'll see it in another event if I can attend something, but if anything, it'll probably just be like locked off to locals until then.
No, totally fair. Is there anyone you want to shout out before we wrap things up here?
I would say shout outs to obviously you helped me a lot with team building, and so did Matt TXT, who is also not a competitor. However, we're trying to make him one. So yeah, we're trying to branch out into joining more regional level events.
So that means if you see us, please give us a shout. Feel free, join Nigel's draft league.
Yeah, they're significantly less they're more casual. They've always been a little bit more casual than the standard, but it'd be nice to have more people to play with.
All right. Well, once again, Nigel, thank you so much for coming on here to help explain your side of the story and just, being able to just tell your tale. I appreciate you coming on here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, man.
Of course. And that is why this is probably one of the most important lessons on this list. Securing your team sheet and sticking to it can literally decide your fate at a big event. Now, the next few lessons, while smaller in size, I'd still consider important, especially if it's your first time going to such a huge tournament. Regionals sometimes have an extra day where you can come in and pick up your wristband for the weekend of play. That wristband also helps confirm that you've bought a ticket for entry and are there to participate in the Pokemon Regional, whether as a player or spectator. Lining up the day of for your wristband can mean waiting in a gruesome line and arriving late for your first match, which can leave you in a panic and start your day off on the wrong foot. Making sure you arrive early to pick up your wristband, while an obvious piece of advice, is still one to take seriously. It also leads to my next point. If you're playing for the entire weekend or plan on coming back sometime through the weekend, don't take off your wristband. I had the mistake of thinking that we wouldn't need it anymore or that we would get a new one, but security will deny you entry if you don't have your wristband. I had to wait in a 20-minute line to get a new one, and after getting scolded about taking it off, I rushed to my first match and was the last person there, keeping my opponent waiting for a solid 10 minutes almost, thinking that I would get an auto loss match 1. So get used to keeping it on and showering with it. Also, tip number 5.5, shower, please. Kids go to these things. Don't be a part of the problem. Jesus Christ. While these venues have food stands, the options are very limited and obnoxiously expensive. So if you don't want boring and stale pizza, I'd suggest making something ahead of time. Also, a reusable water bottle is great to have, obviously, but just a friendly reminder. Stay hydrated, friends. This is probably the best piece of advice in regards to these mini pieces of advice. And yes, this is including the showering one. Notebooks are allowed when going into tournament play, and you can help keep track of so many things. While you can't open a notebook to a page with information already on it, you can still keep track of so many things, such as the 6 Pokemon your opponent has, leads that they bring with what moves they used, how fast your opponent's Pokemon are in comparison to yours, keeping track of weather, Trick Room, or Tailwind turns, keeping track of stat boosts or decreases on any Pokemon on the field, and in the case of Scarlet and Violet, who did they terrestrialize and what condition made them do that? One that I tried to keep a close eye on was tracking percentages of how much damage a certain Pokemon did to me, so I know if a Pokemon can reliably tank something in the next game or not. Writing down when critical hits happen can also remind you that you either don't live a crit or you lost because of the crit. Or if everyone can just say it with me, crit matters! Every regional is packed with things to do. The moment you walk in, you can see a lineup of vintage console Pokemon games, including Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Puzzle League, Pokemon Coliseum, and even modern games today, including Pokken Tournament. This past year, I saw 10 different setups alone just to play Pokemon Unite. There's also stations for beginners to learn how to play the trading card game, special drops for Pokemon Go players, coloring and arts and crafts sections for kids, local card shops and vendors that traveled from out of town to interact with, a Pokemon Center store to buy exclusive merch, and last but not least, the side event booth. That thing holds the key to so many fun memories for myself. You are able to register online for random and fun mini tournaments ranging from VGC to TCG and even tourneys involving retro games. Participation in each side event does come at a fee, but you are rewarded with points depending on how well you do, and they can be redeemed for prizes at the prize wall throughout the weekend. Honestly, the side events were where I made the best memories for myself during regionals, and I do encourage people to go out and try them. Not only did I make some new friends, but I got to improve my VGC game knowledge personally. My personal favorite side event was the Chaos Cup, as you played 3 best-of-1 rounds with random championship teams from Regulation H. I loved the event so much, I played it twice. Day 1, I got to swap my team every round, and day 3, there were so many people participating, we couldn't swap teams anymore. It was close to playing random battles on Pokémon Showdown, but as official VGC, and was honestly such a great time. If any of these events interest you, I'd recommend looking ahead of time to book yourself in for the event on Arcanine, as spots can fill up extremely quickly. If you're trying to take VGC a bit more seriously, however, maybe avoid the side events, except the big tournament that they have set up to practice. But if you want to enjoy yourself before the super serious day, this is where it's at. I hope this information helps you prepare for your next upcoming regionals. Honestly, I can't recommend doing one enough. The community is very friendly, and being able to meet and connect with famous PokeTubers kinda had me going, ah! Have you been to a regionals before? What were some of your favorite memories when it comes to these events? Please share your experiences in the comments. I would love to hear your favorite memories when it comes to playing Pokemon. It's a great time to try, and with Champions coming out soon, VGC is going to become more accessible than ever before, and I can't wait to see all of the new faces that it'll bring.